Hello Ride On people. Today's video is going to be about My Route app, which is a web-based app, and using that in conjunction with your Garmin device, although you can also use it with TomTom devices and other GPS devices. First thing I want to say actually is Waze. If you're not familiar with Waze, have a look at it on Wikipedia. Waze is a great navigation software app that's used on your phone. It's now standard integration for in the Sync 3 on Fords, I believe, and it's becoming very commonplace as the best mobile-based navigation system if you just want to go from A to B and avoid traffic jams and hazards along the way, and be part of a community which highlights hazards ahead basically. And on your mobile this is what it looks like, and I often run this in conjunction with the GPS. The GPS will route me along bespoke routes so I can enjoy the most enjoyable roads on my motorcycle, but I will put in the destination in Waze so that along the way it's highlighting me, it's highlighting and alerting me as to hazards ahead, particularly this blue one, the police. You want to know if there's a problem ahead, like an accident or a speed trap and so forth. So if you're not familiar with that, I would load Waze on your mobile. It's totally free. It's owned by Google, and it's just really the best thing if you just want to go from A to B in your car or your bike in the most direct route in quickest time. But today's video is not about that. Today's video is about planning specific routes. Now, I've used lots of route planning software from Scenic and MyDrive and Harley's Maps, Honda's GPS Visualizer and so forth, and I always found that the best was always Tyre, Tyre, in conjunction with the TomTom device. It was just pretty much faultless. The real problems Tyre had back in the day when it was introduced in the early 2000s was that it didn't support Mac and it didn't support mobile. Well, things all changed in 2013 when the developer provided a new platform that was web-based, and the output files would support many GPS devices such as TomTom and Garmin, and that meant that there was no longer a problem in terms of OS, in terms of Windows or Mac, and whether you were going to use it on a TomTom or a Garmin. So that solves that problem, and the application has improved no end since the days of Tyre. So let's get straight into that. This is what the My Route app looks like, and let's plan a route today. Now this app will do many things, both socially and in groups, and various functions. I'm just going to show you how I use it so you can get up and running as quickly as possible and create reliable routes for your touring holidays, long weekends away, or just complicated ride outs with your friends. Now I'm going to start off with creating a top level folder, and I like to use a date format. I like to start with the year and the month and the day, whatever it is. Let's put in that, and a destination. Let's see, Casino Murphy. I'm going to keep this a private folder. So that's where I'm going to put my file or files for the route. I'm going to click on that. I'm now in that folder. So let's create the route. I go to New, Route. Let's give this a route name. I'm going to again call it 09, 10, 11 for that would be the 11th of October 2019, for instance, and put in the destination, which is a casino in Murphy. I'm going to keep it private, and I'm straight into the map. Now this particular application, you can get it free to use for like a month. There's no signing up with your credit card or any nonsense like that. You can just register, you know, with your email address, and then you're good to go to use it for a month's trial. So you really have nothing to lose by trying this. And if you enjoy it, you can have the gold level of cover, which I do. It's not expensive. It's about $25 a month, a year rather. But you will find it well worthwhile at that level. You can also get a lifetime for about $300, I think. So let's plan a route. Basically, like Google Maps, you can find a place up here if you want to, or you can just zoom in on the map, and you can change how this map is displayed by these layers here. So with the gold level of membership, which I said is about $25 a year, I think. Without that, you're just looking at these standard street maps, which are okay. You can you can plan, but you can see the level of detail isn't as detailed as if you were looking at Google or TomTom or here. Here is actually the default map, in theory, of the Garmin, although I find it's just as accurate, if not more accurate, to use the Google map, and then you get a lot more level of detail, particularly when you want to look at individual buildings, etc. So the best way to start planning a route, I find, is to start at the meeting point. Don't do it from your home, particularly if you're going to share these files perhaps with people you don't know, or they're going to be passed on to people you don't know. Just kind of go to the meeting point of where you want to meet. Now, let's say we're meeting at a Waffle House. I know it's roughly in this area, but I'm not sure where it is. I can just kind of zoom in to the general area and begin typing Waffle House. Instantly comes up with all the local Waffle Houses within this area shown on screen, and I know that it's this one I want to start the route at. So I can just say OK to that. Now let's do the same for where we're going, which is quite a bit further north, and we're going up to a place called Murphy up here, and we're looking for a casino up here. So I type in casino, comes up straight away. It's this one here, and I say OK. So we're good to go. So I can zoom out again, and we instantly have a route. Now, if we're going by car, that might be great, but it's boring as anything, all these interstates and freeways. I don't want to do that, and nor do the people riding with me. We want to have some fun, so let's go up Route 9 here. Just like Google Maps, I can right-click on the line anywhere and drag it to the road I prefer to be on. And then it will say, do I want to create that as a waypoint? I click yes, and we're good to go. But it's still not keeping me on 9, so I need a second waypoint. So let's move that one to there. That's good. Alright, now we're taking a totally different route, straight up 19 to go north. So let's do that, but I know Two Wheels of Suches here is a mega hotspot for bikes at the weekend, and we're going on a Saturday. So we might want to stop off there for a cup of coffee. So let's drag the route that way. That's good. That means we can go up here for a cup of coffee, go across the Wolfpan Gap, and then head north up to the casino. So my route looks good now. Pretty happy with that. So what else do I want to do? Well, it's quite a long ride, 2.5 hours and 102 miles. I don't want to do that in one hit. So let's look closer at the places that we want to stop. So if I look down the list here of the waypoints, I can see that we start at the Waffle House. That's good. Then we go up Route 9, and we go to Dahlonega, and then we go up to Suches, and then on to Haraz, the casino. But we want to stop, and I always sort of think that the maximum you want to ride in one hit is an hour. I know some people want to ride more, some people only want to do half that, but I think particularly if you're in a group, an hour max before you have a leg stretch or you fill up with gas or you stop for lunch is about right. So Suches was going to be the first place we were going to stop for a cup of coffee, and that's an hour and a half away. That's just too far. And Dahlonega here is kind of 46 minutes up the road. If I click on it, it'll take me straight to that waypoint and I can zoom in. So I've got a little bit of time from waypoint 3 at 46 minutes to waypoint 4 at 121. I kind of want to split the difference and preferably keep it within an hour. So let's zoom in here and see what's around here. Well, there's a Chevron garage there. That's good. That means that people can regas if they have a smaller gas tank than I do, and it means people can. There's probably toilets, so if there's any ladies with us particularly, they may want to use the restrooms, and the guys can too, obviously. If anybody needs a quick chocolate bar or ice cream or something, we can kind of fit that in there. So let's zoom in here and say the Chevron. Good to go. Okay, so that's looking better now. So we're going to meet at the Waffle House and have some breakfast there. Then we're going to go up to Dahlonega 53 minutes later and stop there, get some fuel. And then about half an hour after that, we'll be up at Two Wheels of Suches and we can get a cup of coffee. And then it's just over the hour, so it's just breaking the hour rule, but I'm going to let that one slide because it is our final destination. So once we're there, we're going to have a big rest. So it's looking good. So what else do we need to do? Well, we want to make sure that we have the waypoints in the right places, and we also want to make sure that we're alerted as to when we're stopping. So on our GPS, we don't want to see the waypoints that's just navigating us the bespoke tailored route that we want to take, but we do want the waypoints that are going to warn us where we need to stop, and we want to make sure those stops are accurate as well. So let's start at the very beginning, the destination for the meeting point at the Waffle House in McFarland. I'm going to zoom in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in the maximum amount that I possibly can and go to this layer, and I'm going to turn on the satellite view. Now this will be the only entrance that people will enter, so I'm just going to drag that to the entrance and put it very precisely where I want people to hit that waypoint. Now I'm going to highlight this and I'm going to change this to something more logical, and I like to put it in capital letters so it shows up on the GPS screen very clearly. I'm going to say stop and why we're stopping and where we're stopping, and I'm going to say OK. So now that's good. That'll be the first place. So if I distribute this file to any of my friends now and say this is the route for Saturday, irrelevant of where they live, when they load up their GPS, this is the first place it's going to direct them to. So we're all going to meet up nicely at the first place. Now I can click on it, and I can also click the right arrow, and that will take me to the next waypoint in list. Now if I zoom out slightly, I can see that because that waypoint was a drag and drop and it was from a great height, it's actually nowhere near the road. And this is one of the reasons why people get frustrated that, oh, my route's not working and my GPS is asking me to turn around and stuff. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop this from here back onto the road, and I'm going to avoid dragging it and dropping it near junctions where the GPS might get confused and try and make you go down here instead of straight on. So I'm going to turn it back to the default view. I'm going to move it back to the road. It will ask me what I want to call the waypoint, I just say OK, and I can zoom in 100% just to be sure. And whether I'm looking at the satellite view or whether I'm looking at the default map view, it doesn't matter. Now this waypoint is actually on the other side of the road because we'll be going this way. It really doesn't matter. The Garmin device will pick that up, but you can drag and drop it to the other side if you want to be very, very specific, although sometimes you can see there the point is actually in the other side of the road, but the line's on this side. It doesn't matter, it should pick that up without any issue. I can click on this, I can say the next one is going to be here. Now you can see again, this is the problem I was just highlighting, where it's dragging you off down a road you don't want to be on. So let's just drag this back on and move it well away from the junction, so it's just clearly on the main highway there. That's looking good. I'll click on it again. Let's go to the next one. Now this is the one by the Chevron garage, I think, and I can get a better view here by pressing this. Now if I move to the satellite view, I can see that it's pretty well placed, but I'm going to move it just slightly before I want to turn, and I'm going to rename this one Stop Gas Chevron-Dahlonega. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'll go back to the default view now, and the route overall is looking pretty good. Let's click on the next waypoint and zoom in on that. Now I can see this is quite a bit off as well. So I've kind of got two options here. I can either drag and drop this back to the highway, or I can create a totally new waypoint, and I can see that I'm quite a bit out from where Two Wheels actually is, where we're going to stop for coffee. So instead of dragging this one to the highway, I'm just going to create a new one and then delete this one. So let's zoom in here. You can see Two Wheels as such is. I'm going to toggle back to the satellite view. Now this is the entrance here rather than this side, actually coming on the lower entry here. So I'm just going to create a new waypoint here, and I'm going to call this Stop, and we're stopping for coffee, and I'm going to call this TW for short, Two Wheels, and this is in Suches. Okay, just make sure I'm zoomed in 100%, and that is looking good. Go back to the default view. Now I don't need this number 5 waypoint anymore, which is way off. So I can go over here and in list find number 5 and delete it, and then it just sorts the route, and we are good to go. I'll click on this one, we'll go to the next one. The next one's actually our destination, which is the casino. Now let's turn on the satellite view. Now let's say I have some local knowledge here, rather than the entrance, which is where it's taking me to here. Perhaps I know there's a back entrance here that is a little bit quicker to wherever it is I'm going in the building. So with that local knowledge, I'm just going to drag this around to here, and so that it will route me all the way around the car park. And let's call this Stop, and this is the casino in Murphy. Okay, that's all looking good. Let's go back to the default view. Now my whole route is looking good. It's following up Route 9 here, go through Dawsonville, Dahlonega up to Suches, all the way onto the casino in Murphy. I've checked each waypoint so I know they're good, and in my list here I've got clear indicators of when we're stopping and why. We're stopping for breakfast at the Waffle House, we're stopping for a refill of gas at the Chevron in Dahlonega, we're stopping for coffee at Two Wheels as Suches, and then we're ultimately stopping at the casino. Now if this was a very long list, perhaps it's a multi-touring day holiday, You might want to subdivide these up into separate files, or just get a greater idea of what your stopping strategy is. If you're a gold member, which I am, which as I say is about, I think off the top of my head, about $25 a year, you get these additional features. And one of them is split. You can see you can reverse the route as well there. One of them is split. If you click on split, it lets you choose when to split the file. It'll have the start and the stop, destination, but you can split it any way you want. Now if I select the stops in the list, it'll show me that it wants to create 3 separate routes. And if I click on OK, it'll just default with a numerical additional number to whatever you've called the route. And if I say split, OK. Now if I go up a level in my folders, I can see this is the entire route, 102 miles, 2 hours 26 minutes, but in addition it's created 3 separate files of in other words, it's created a copy of this main file and then split it where I've asked it to 3 times. And I can see the first hop will be a 50-minute hop of 40 miles duration. The second will be half an hour, nearly 17 miles, and the final one just over an hour, 45 minutes. So if I want to take a more detailed, closer look at any of these, let's pick the second one for instance. I click on it and I can see that it's starting me off at, this was the Chevron garage if you remember, and then it's taking me around this town, Dahlonega, and we're going to go up Route 19 and then Route 60 all the way to Two Hills of Suches, and it will split it in exactly the same place as we saw when we were creating it. So this will be exactly the same. Now you might want multiple files, particularly when you first start creating these routes, because you might make mistakes, and ultimately worst case scenario you'll just load up the next route in list on your GPS and away you go. It's going to route you to the start, route you to the direct you to the start of wherever that particular file begins. So but for me, for my purposes, I generally like 1 file per day's riding, and because this is a short route, even more so. So I'm just going to delete these using the X here, and you could do this as many times as you wanted to, obviously, and but it gives you an idea of what your route planning is going to look like. So how do we get it onto the Garmin? Well, let's deal with that. So this is your route here, and as soon as you click select it, it will say save as. You can also do it from the menu as well, but let's do save as, and then it gives you an option in terms of the format. You and your friends might be on Garmin's, but maybe you've got a friend joining you who's on a TomTom, and that would require an ITN route file. But for the Garmin, you're looking at GPX. There's also Harley Boombox here, and others, as you can see. You're looking at GPX for the Garmin. You want to choose the highest version number, which in this instance is 1.1, and it's going to export the route, the track, and point of interest. You don't have any selection options there. It's going to do all 3 options basically, and you can have it emailed to you. You can actually use the export function if you want to download their little add-on plugin to export to Garmin. I would say avoid that personally. Just do it manually, and then you're going to do a save. Boing, and that's going to save it to my downloads. You can have it saved to desktop or another destination or wherever, I think, but I think I have it set up for downloads. And if I open my Finder, there's my file. 11th of October 2019 to the Casino Murphy. Now what I like to do is drag and drop these to a routes folder, and once you've got your routes folder here, you can start listing out your routes, and it's great reference for when you come back to them on another day. And there's different ways you can do it, like this particular ride out here, I put in the timings of where I wanted to be and where in terms of the hours of the day, and that will help keep you on track. Or this one, for instance, I had a morning route and an afternoon route. For this one, we're just going to have a single route, and it's this one here. So how do we get that into the Garmin and double check that it's good in the Garmin in order to use for our actual route? Well, let's take a look at that. Let's get the file that we've created using my route app into the Garmin device. So to do that, we're going to have to use the Garmin Basecamp application. Now, I don't like the Basecamp application one bit, not for route planning. I find it very cumbersome, very slow, and it's why I choose to use a different application. It's very clunky. It will often kind of hang or just exit for no reason, but it's a necessary evil in order to get your file onto the Garmin. So what do we do to do that? Well, let's begin by doing a file import. Then we're going to go to our route folder wherever we've saved it, and we're going to click on that file and we're going to select import. Job done. It's shown in list there. Now you'll see that this is kind of showing it as the crow flies with lots of dots everywhere. Just don't worry about that for a second. Now, one thing to do is to download the maps offline if you haven't done that already, because connecting up your Garmin and trying to create routes in your Garmin is what causes so many problems in Basecamp. When you've got your map downloaded from the Garmin site, you want to select the latest version to work with, which currently for me is 2020.1. Select that. Now you're working with the latest map, but the route still looks bad, doesn't it? Again, don't worry about that. You'll see down here you've got a track and also route. Remember how I said the export file would have route, track and point of interest, and there's no way you can just tell it to export the route. So you don't need the track. If you click on the track, this is what confuses everybody. They think, wow, it looks great. That's actually the route I want, so I need to delete the route and keep the track, right? No, that's a mistake. Right click on the track and do delete from my collection, and it's gone. So then you think, well, this doesn't look that good, but right click on it again and do recalculate, and that's better. So you may have to recalculate twice. You'll see then it's picked up the route. Okay, and you can kind of zoom in and zoom out pretty reliably when it's using the offline map rather than the map that's on your device itself. Okay, so what do we now want to do? Well, we want to go through the route and make sure that the route looks good in the Garmin map file, and this is the map that the device is actually using. And because of that, we want to make sure that anybody that's using this file also has the latest downloaded Garmin map, because if you're not on the same maps, you may find the waypoint is slightly off at certain places, which is sometimes highlighted when you share your file with a friend and the friend says, oh, it's not doing what I expected it to do, it's asking me to do a U-turn. Chances are you just have different map versions. So always make sure you have the latest firmware and the latest maps for both Basecamp and your Garmin device. So you'll need Garmin Express and Garmin Web Updater to ensure that. But for loading up the file, you need Basecamp. So let's click on the first waypoint and click on center on selected. And again, we're going to zoom in 100% on this just to make sure it's in the row where we expected it to be, and it is. And I'm going to click on the next one and zoom in again. You can see this is just slightly out, so there's a very slight difference between my route app and the Garmin. I'm just going to drag that back a bit closer to the road. That's looking better now. I'll click on the next one, zoom in here. That's just slightly out. That would probably be okay, but I'm going to just drag it just to be sure. That looks good now. Click on the next one, and this is the chevron, and then I'll click on two wheels, Those waypoints look great. And then this final waypoint is the Cherokee Reservation Casino. So that all looks good. Perfect. What do we need to do now? Well, some of these waypoints indicate that they won't alert on arrival, which basically means you won't see any instruction on your GPS as you're riding along, but it will take you on those roads and it will take you across those waypoints. Some of them will alert on arrival. If it doesn't say won't alert, it's going to tell you. But some of these we don't want alerts on. We only want alerts on the stops. So basically what I tend to do is do a Control A to highlight them all, then do a right click and say don't alert on arrival. That makes them all not alert except the first one, the starting point, and the last one, the destination point. So then I look down the list, and where you've put in capital letters stop, I click on those, hold the control button down, click on the other one. So now all of my stops in list are highlighted. I can right click and I can say alert on arrival. Okay, so when I click away in my list, I'm going to get an alert to stop for breakfast when I get to the Waffle House. It's then going to take me on this road, but it's not going to give me any alert warning. It's then going to take me on that road without giving any alert warning. And then when I get to Dahlonega, it's going to tell me to stop and get gas. And when I get to Suches, it's going to tell me to stop and have a cup of coffee. And then when I get to my destination, it's just going to say stop casino, because obviously that's where we're going. So that all looks great. So now I'm happy that I have the route in my Garmin map file, that all my waypoints are where they should be, and that it's going to highlight when I need to stop and tell me physically on the GPS screen itself. Next, I need to actually connect the Garmin GPS so that we can send the file to the device. Okay, so I've connected my GPS device, and as you can see it's here, and if I click on it, you'll see at the bottom here loads of information has turned up, and this is basically old information, old logs of where I've travelled to and the last route files that I had loaded. There'll also be some points of interest that I may have added here that I may want to keep, but everything else I don't want to keep basically. So for me personally, I'm just going to do a Control A to highlight everything. I'm going to hold the control button down and click on the things that I want to keep, which are just basically reference points of interest. Everything else that's just a waypoint flag or an old route or an active log, I can delete. So I check that 2 or 3 times, make sure I'm happy, and then I can just hit the delete key, and I'm prompted, do I want to delete it? And I say yes. So that all that's left on my GPS at the moment is my home and these particular points of interest here. When I'm good with that, I can click back on my route file, and I can either right click here and do send to device, or I can right click here and do send to device. When I do send to device, it's going to ask me, do I want to send the routes, the tracks, the waypoints, everything. I just leave that as standard, just everything ticked, and just do send. Then it will say transfer complete, and you close out. You can right click, you can click select your GPS, and it's now showing that the route is physically on your GPS. You can rename that route if you want to. It always puts that route default in. I'm not sure why. I don't really like that, so I'm just going to get rid of that, make the descriptor shorter, and then we are good. So I'll tick select my Garmin device again, right click on it and select eject. When it's ejected, you can now disconnect it from your laptop. Okay, so let's look at how to load it up on the Garmin itself. So let's turn the Garmin on and let it boot up. Say agree to the warning, and then it will say new routes found, import to trip planner. Say yes, click on the import, click import, and you're good to go. So how do you load it up once you've got it on your Garmin? You go into apps again, go to Trip Planner, you'll then see the route, you'll click on it and you'll press go. And it will typically default to this second waypoint for some reason, always does that. So you'll need to click the first stopping point, which you'll remember is the Waffle House. And then you'll remember we have multiple waypoints, but the only ones that we asked to display on the Garmin unit itself were the stops. So we have a stop for filling up with gas, we have a stop for coffee, and then we have a stop when we get to our destination, the casino itself. And we can just press start now, and that will direct us to the start or the destination for the meeting point. So anybody with this file, relevant where they live, will be able to meet you for your ride out at the meeting point. If there's a problem with the file in terms of your waypoints are off or something like that, you can simply reload the route using the same method and just select further down in the list. So if there was a problem between where you set off at your breakfast destination, in between the Waffle House and the Chevron garage here, for instance, you could just reload it, select stop gas Chevron, and then the very first waypoint it would take you to will be that gas Chevron. Might not take you the route you planned, because it's going to take you the most direct route probably, but at least you'll be back on track. Now because the breakfast point is the meeting point, I'll just press start. It will say calculating route, and then it will say go. It will show a map of the route. That all looks good, and it will show a little flag wherever you're going to stop. So the first stop will be the meeting point, the second one will be the gas station, the third will be the coffee stop, and then the final one will be the casino. I'll press go. Of course, once you've created your own file in the Garmin, you should export it from the Garmin itself and overwrite your import file, which was the export file from My Routes Planner, and then you email your friends that file, knowing that if you're all on the latest version of the Garmin, that file will work on their GPS device and you'll all be good to go. Hopefully that was clear. So when you're in Basecamp here, you need to click on your route, select file, export, and then wherever your destination is for storing your routes, where you stored the file that you exported originally from the My App website, which is this one here, you're going to export and overwrite. So you're going to replace that file. Okay. And you can come out of Basecamp. You can then go into your file manager or Finder if you're on Apple, locate your file, and this is the file, remember, that we created using the My Routes app, exported, then imported into Basecamp, got it to where we wanted it, then sent it to the device, and then exported it back, overwriting this import file. So this import file is now an output file from the Garmin Basecamp. Now this is the file that you want to email to your friends or make available via something like Dropbox or whatever, so that they can then import it directly into their Garmin device, and you're both working with exactly the same files, and assuming they're on the same version of the map as you are in the Garmin, there's no reason why it shouldn't work perfectly in their device as well as your own. So that's it for this route planning tutorial. I hope you found this very interesting. I know a lot of you had a lot of problems trying to create bespoke routes, and you've tried many different applications. A lot of people hate Basecamp and really struggle with that in terms of its reliability and its features and its speed and usability. I think you'll find this particular solution is fast. It's using Google Maps, so you've got lots of details when you want to see whether there's good places to stop or not. It's pretty intuitive to use, easy to export and easy to import into the Garmin, and check your route and get it up and running on the device. It's how I plan all my ride outs with my ride out crew, and I think if you take the time to watch the video properly and pause it as you're going through the video, and while you're doing the same actions yourself on your laptop, I think you'll get the hang of it very quickly. You'll be able to do it very quickly, and it will be a reliable way of you planning your ride outs personally, and your day trips and your weekends away and your touring vacations. So anyway, I hope you found this useful. Leave any comments in the descriptions below if you're having any problems. I'll try and help you with those, but I think you'll find it fairly straightforward. If you like these type of videos, I release videos every week, so make sure you hit that notification bell so then you'll get prompted when I've posted a new video. And make sure you're subscribed, obviously, and please like and share this video with your friends who may equally be struggling. Anyway, ride often, ride carefully, ride on.